Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just talked about a little bit of a wrap up on the transfer portal for the winter cycle. It's always going to get a little bit weirder in the spring cycle, so we will obviously be watching that very closely. But overall, remarkable portal cycle and a lot of different implications coming out of it. But let's get into a little bit of a top 10 Tuesday. Let's talk about the top players, in the national title. Going to be a very tough list to put together. I probably had 25 guys that were rolling around in my mind, and I officially found my way to those 10 guys that I think are the very best in this game, and it's a lot of Ohio State. I'll be totally honest with you off the bat. But at the end of the day, let's go ahead and jump into this thing. And Latham Ransom is the guy I want to start with. This is the guy that should get way more love than he gets right now. But the reality is he plays next to Caleb Downs, and that is going to take a lot of attention away from you. But 72 tackles, a sack, 1 INT, 3 forced fumbles on the year. The guy's a star. He's absolutely incredible to watch. He's only gotten better throughout his Ohio State career, and he's one of those guys that you might not notice him all the time on the football field. He is making winning plays pretty much every single time. He's going to make the right play 9 out of 10 times. He will fly downhill with the best of them, and frankly, I would be shocked if he wasn't a 10-year vet in the NFL. He plays so smart, plays so instinctively, and you can put him in a number of different places because of how his career has kind of bounced him around just a little bit at those safety positions. So really talented kid. I think he's going to make a huge impact on this game, the same way he made a huge impact on that toss play against Texas. He was definitely a huge player in that game, and he's one of those guys that I just don't think gets nearly the respect that he deserves. Might be one of the most underrated players in the entire country. Donovan Jackson here at 9. This is the guy that has probably made more money over the last month as anyone in the entire country. He has done such a good job. He was kicked out to tackle after that Josh Simmons injury, and even after that Seth McLaughlin injury. He was asked to do just that little bit more, especially in the run game, was definitely going to be a bigger piece of that, and leadership was going to be a bigger piece of that. He's been huge for this team, been absolutely remarkable, has not given up a sack the entirety of the CFP, and he's one of those guys that just makes all the difference in the world. When you have that anchor on the left side of your offensive line, even if he was a left guard, now he's a left tackle, he can make some big-time plays. Remarkable player, and I'd be shocked if an NFL team let him slide anywhere past the middle of the second round, if I'm being totally honest. Jeremiah Love is here at number 8, and I said that Ohio State has the better running backs overall. If this guy is healthy and fully 100%, this is the best running back in this game. He is downright incredible, and the ability for him to jump cut, the ability for him to catch passes out of the backfield, to hurdle over people pretty much every second he gets. But the reality is, over 1,000 yards on the ground, 200 yards receiving this year. He is a guy that can make all the difference in the world. He might not be as I don't even want to say that. He is as conventionally talented as TreVeyon Henderson, but the reality is the guy's production is remarkable, and he does just about everything you could possibly want a running back to do. Very much love what Jeremiah Love brings in. Frankly, if he was getting drafted this year, I'd definitely draft him, but he's not, so I'm going to be looking at those Heisman odds going into 2025. Howard Cross here at number 7, a very huge player for the interior of that Notre Dame defense, and a guy, especially with Riley Mills out, that needs to play big-time football on Monday, but a guy that gets all types of push, and he's a great pass rusher as well, 4 sacks on the year while dealing with injuries. Very talented guy, and definitely someone that, you look at this Ohio State offensive line, they are very good. They've done an incredible job throughout this tournament, and I don't really doubt them too much in this game. That being said, this is an absolute beast. This is a problem on the interior, and definitely a guy that could make that Seth McLaughlin injury look a little bit bigger of a deal than the last couple of teams have. A huge player, and I think he's going to be one of those guys that has to make a huge impact in this game. Then you got Emeka Egbuka, and this is a guy that I absolutely love. And you get overshadowed just a little bit because there's a downright alien on this team. We'll talk about him here in a second, but his route running is about as good as you're going to find in the country. His hands, the exact same, about as good as you're going to find in the country. And his confidence in different spots on the field is really remarkable. You know, you can put him right in the slot. You can put him all the way on the outside. You can put him in the backfield, and he can make plays. He's a very talented player, and he has as much confidence, as much energy as anyone on the field. And I think more than anything, he's kind of the engine of this pass game. He's not necessarily the guy that is going to make all the catches in the world and do everything out there on the football field, but he absolutely is the guy that's going to create space for others. He absolutely is the guy that is going to get that third down catch or fourth down catch that they very much need, like he did against Texas in that big time moment. So he's a huge player. He's a guy that I absolutely love. Nearing 1,000 yards on the season, 10 touchdowns this year, elite blocker on the outside, which is a huge part of this, but he is a guy that is remarkable in every single way, and if you didn't have Jeremiah Smith on your team, he would be one of the best wide receivers in the country. He definitely already is, but he would be treated a little bit more like that if Jeremiah Smith wasn't on this squad. And then you move into the top 5. JT Tuimoloau is downright incredible. He is an athletic beast in every sense of the word. He gets off the ball about as fast as anyone in the entire country, and he is so physical with his hands when he gets to offensive linemen. He will make plays in this game. I can almost promise you that. He made a ton of plays in that Texas game before getting dinged up just a little bit. Should be more than fine for that Monday game, but 11.5 sacks on the year, 3 pass breakups. He is someone that has that takeover ability that we saw from Jack Sawyer against Texas. He absolutely has that, and he's a great player and going to be an elite NFL player. Cannot wait to see what he can do at the next level. Very, very talented guy, and definitely someone that I just think has a little bit left in the tank. You know, he's one of those seniors that found his way back to Ohio State after that past year. Could have very well been in the NFL right now, but decided to come back, and he's looking for his moment in the sun, and I think there will be no better moment than on Monday, and he's a remarkable player. Cannot wait to see what he can do in this game. His counterpart on the other side, his partner in crime, Jack Sawyer, remarkable. 9 sacks on the season, so a little bit behind JT, but 6 pass breakups, 1 INT, 3 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and 2 touchdowns. The dude is an absolute game wrecker. He is a monster, and it's someone that has been on a downright mission the last couple of weeks. He's been all over the place, been making play after play after play, and he's one of those guys that is leading the way in this for this team in a million different ways. It's not just, he's making all the plays on the football field. He is the outright heartbeat of this team. He's the leader. He is the guy that everyone follows, and he is the guy that could have his huge moment in the sun on Monday. Now, he already had it very nicely in that Texas game, but at the end of the day, this would be the ultimate prize, the one that he's been waiting for really his entire life. To be a national champion for the Ohio State Buckeyes is his dream, and he has a very good chance to accomplish that on Monday. Xavier Watts here at 3, and there's going to be an argument back and forth between 3 and 2. I had the argument back and forth, but the ability of Xavier Watts is downright insane. He should be a first-round draft pick to me, and he's a guy that can create all types of problems for any quarterback that he faces, because it's not only that he's a great in run support. He's 75 tackles, second on the team, 6 INTs, a forced fumble on the year. The guy is a true difference maker, and he's someone that does such a good job in film study that he knows where the quarterback's going before the quarterback knows where he's going. He is so good with his eyes, obviously follows the quarterback very, very well, and he's one of those guys that can just totally change a game. Very, very talented, and he flies downhill in the run game. Obviously, is a great kind of center fielder when you talk about safety, and he's a guy that needs to make big-time plays in this game, especially against Will Howard in that pass game, if they want to come out on top. The other safety in this game I would give the very, very slight edge to over Xavier Watts. Caleb Downs is a difference maker in every sense of the word. He is a guy that I can't even fathom how he is that good at football. I'll be totally honest. He is only a sophomore, but he has 76 tackles on the year. He has 2 interceptions, but it's not only that. This guy might not light up the stat sheet every single game. He is going to make every single play that is in front of him. He will not miss a tackle. He will not miss a gap. He will not miss an opening. And he will make just about every play you need him to make on the back end as well. He is a guy that, frankly, if he could go in this cycle, he would be a top 10 draft pick. He is that big of a difference maker. He is that big of a just absolute athletic freak, and I would give him the very, very slight edge over Xavier Watts. I think you could flip those guys, and I would have no problem. Frankly, I had them flipped, and then I flipped them back, so would totally understand wherever you come from on that one, but it's pretty clear why this guy is going to be a top 10 pick when he finally does leave for the NFL draft, but special player, and I think he's got a huge chance to make a big-time name for himself on Monday. And this is the guy. I really don't know that this one needs to be explained too much. This might be the very best player in the country, period, going into 2025, and he is a guy that it's title time now. He's got to be able to really set up. He was handled last week against Texas. The difference is, obviously, Notre Dame is going to play a little bit more man coverage, and that is a nightmare when you're facing Jeremiah Smith. So what does that look like? How much do they play in man coverage? Do they drop back into the zone a little bit more often? And how do they deal with this kid is going to be a huge, huge question. Texas was able to do it pretty effectively, but the schemes that these two teams run are entirely differently. But 1,200 yards on the season, 14 touchdowns, and has made play after play after play throughout this tournament. He is an absolute difference maker, and I've said it before, we got to test his DNA. We got to see what's going on in there that's different than every other human, because he is not normal in any sense of the word. He is remarkable, and he's one of those guys that is going to be a superstar. You could fit him for a gold jacket right now. Just hold on to it for 15 years because he's coming to get it at some point. But overall, remarkable players all across the board. Obviously, Ohio State has a little bit more of that firepower than Notre Dame has, at least in terms of those individual players. But as we've noticed throughout this last little bit, Notre Dame wins games as a team. That's how they go about business, and they've done it the last couple of games. No reason to believe they can't do it in this one. But remarkable, remarkable stuff to talk about as we get throughout this week. Next week, or tomorrow, I want to get into a couple of different things. Get into the CFP, kind of a postmortem look into how it went. Arguments on both sides, why it was great, why it was not so great. We'll look at the Big Ten's control over the sport and how long that's going to last, and a couple of different things on tomorrow's show. A little bit of a diverging from the NFL or from the national championship just for a day, and then we'll get back to the business, no doubt about that. But that'll do it for this edition of the GSMC College Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It does make a huge difference. Also, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all the social pages for all the content and updates you could possibly need. We got great people covering every single sport you could want. So anything in the world of sports you could possibly need, please come into GSMC and we have you totally covered. But thank you once again for listening. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about the CFP and all of the issues and great parts about it on tomorrow's show. So tune in at 9 a.m. Eastern, and I will see you then.